So Redskins beat reporter Craig Hoffman sat down with Brian LaFemina yesterday, and we're going to play the full interview on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. We'll talk to Craig Hoffman here momentarily, but here's a little snippet of Craig with Brian LaFemina.
What role does ownership need to play in this? As the ownership, as the person that comes back, and I'm talking sole owner, that Dan's name comes up a lot when you talk about the fractured relationships. Fairly or not is not my place to judge. I'm just here to ask the question. His name comes up a lot. What role does he need to play in the reparation of that?
I think Dan's playing the role that he needs to play, which is, hiring people who hopefully are going to do a great job. I look to make sure that I live up to my end of that bargain, and the people that, I've hired since I've been here, and giving us the resources and giving us the, giving us his blessing to do the things that need to be done. I've said this before. Nobody wants to win more than Dan Schneider. It's been great working with him and for him, and he's given me everything I could ask for to get this job done. So I think from that standpoint, I couldn't ask for any more, and I think our fans, should recognize that as well. That you can make it about me or the guys that I've hired all you want, but at the end of the day, the person who made that decision is the guy who owns the team.
It's true. So
Definitely
that was
true.
Brian LaFemina with Craig Hoffman, who joins us right now, a Redskins beat reporter. You can check out his work at sportsjunkies.com, thefandc.com, and, of course, on the air. Hey, Craig.
Good morning, guys.
What's up, Craig?
So the story this week, sure, there's the Houston Texans and their injuries and the Redskins at 6-3. The story this week, though, has been the fans. It started with Josh Norman, then DJ Swearinger. Talk about what it's been like at Redskins Park for you this week.
It's been a little different. It's a first-place team coming to town, and you'd think you'd talk about that, but it kind of, at the end of every interview that you do, you're still doing the usual question series about the best players on the other team, schematics of the other team, trying to get set for the game. But then at the end, it's like, oh, by the way, what do you think about the crowd, or what would a good home crowd mean to you? And so that's certainly been a storyline, and some of the most interesting answers that we've gotten all week have been on that topic. And then obviously, instead of trying to sit down with a player to talk about what's going on the field and a 6-3 football team, my request this week for an interview was with Brian LaFemina. And Brian was great yesterday. I'm excited for people to hear the full interview and kind of to gauge the reaction of what he says. But yeah, it's been a little bit different. And by the way, when it comes to how it affects the football team, I don't think it's a bad thing. This team has played better amidst a little bit of chaos the last couple of years, and when it feels like things are swirling a little bit. And I actually think this winds up helping them on Sunday, weirdly enough.
So you tweeted yesterday that Josh Norman will be handing out 50 tickets before Sunday's game, and I initially thought they might have been just freebies that the Redskins gave him, but is it true that he's going into his own pocket, is doing the same thing for first responders? Tweeted that out yesterday, that he's actually paying for tickets for people to come to the game this weekend.
I believe that's how that works. Each player gets an allotment of tickets that they can give family, but it's a pretty small allotment, and then they have to pay for anything extra. And so while there may be tickets somewhere in a marketing budget that they can pull out and say, all right, hey, we'll shift these over and give these out via the player, I'm pretty sure that these players are paying for at least some of these tickets, because there's only so many that they're willing to give away per game. And I'd assume that is how that is working, that, hey, you can always purchase, the players can always purchase extra on top of their given allotment, and I'd assume that is how they are getting these.
How are we gonna attack this Texans defense? What's the best way to go? Is it going to be continue to pound the football?
Yeah, I think the continued attempt at balance, obviously starting with the run game and then getting your pass stuff off of that, whether it's just straight drop back or play action. You got to try to neutralize their pass rush, and the best way to do that is to make them not fire off the ball up the field because they're scared of the run. J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney are as good as anybody in the league at their positions and can both completely take over and disrupt games. And so if you can run the ball at them and let your blockers attack them, I think that's the best strategy. They've got good players on the back end, too. Like Honey Badger is good. He's been a good addition for them. And he does some things that only he does. So he might not be in the exact place you think he is. And so Alex is going to have to make sure that he is aware of the rush, feels the rush, and then is aware of where Tyrann Mathieu is. And then, they've got some good other players on that defense too. They've got speed at the linebacker position, which is obviously very helpful. It's going to be a tough day for this offense potentially. There are teams obviously that have figured it out and scored some points on the Texans, but overall they've got some really good players, and I think also you're looking at tight ends and backs having to chip and things like that on Clowney going out, and that's where you miss a guy like Trent. You never have to chip with Trent. Capri Bibbs could just get out on third down. Now you might have to chip on the way out, and that slows you down, and especially if Watt's coming from the other side, that creates quite the challenge.